This is a companion video to the tutorial for Project 1. In the Project 1 data Excel file, the first one will be the loan analysis, which is where you create the if statement that is described in the tutorial part of the project. I'm clicking on B14, and I begin by typing if. Now, I'm going to use the fill in the blank method, but the tutorial will show you also how to use the wizard. You can use whichever one you have a preference for. The first thing I need is the logical test. I know this because it tells me that when I start typing. My logical test is told to me in the tutorial, and it is actually the B13, which is the loan amount, divided by B4, which is the purchase price, and it has to be greater than 0.8. Now I put a comma in because it told me, and it highlighted value if true. My value if true is it's 300, comma, and my value is false is 0. I need a closing parenthesis. I hit enter, and the answer is $300. I'm ready to go on to the next part of the tutorial, which is goal seek. On the bottom, I'm clicking on goal seek. You will have to type in these 3 names, which it tells you in the tutorial as well. You also will need to put in the bonus percentage, which is 3%. Now you have to put in 3%. You have to figure out what the bonus amount is. So you're going to need the formula for that, because the bonus amount will end up being whatever your sales dollars are times the bonus percentage. So I have to create the formula by saying the dollar amounts, which is B1, will need to be multiplied times that bonus percentage. I'm hitting enter. I don't have a bonus amount yet because I have not figured out what those dollars are, and I'm going to use goal seek to do that. So I'm clicking on the bonus amount, and then I'm going to go to the data, and I'm going to click on the what if and find goal seek. I'm going to set this bonus amount, okay, and it tells me this in the instructions. So I am setting B3 to 2,500 by changing the dollars. I click OK. The answer is 2,500. I click OK. Now I'm ready to move on to Solver. Solver is like the big brother of goal seek. It's a little more sophisticated because you now can control for the constraints that are always on different things that we do. So in this case, we're going to do the Pony Express. You will need to type in the information that you see on the screen. You also will see over here that there are pictures that will tell you exactly what it should look like and where it should go. Now, once I get these titles typed in, which is the first thing I would do, the next thing I have to do is make sure I have the values that are given to me. So I know that my coffee is $1.25 for regular, latte is $2, and my mocha is $2.25. I know that I'm trying to maximize my total revenue, and I'm going to figure that out by figuring out how much I need to sell. And I have 3 different types of coffees that I need to sell to be able to figure that out. And I'm going to need to figure out, to get my revenue, to see what that maximum revenue is, I'm going to need to total up this coffee by how many I sell. So the first thing I've got to do after I figure up and put in the amounts for the coffee that they actually cost, then I'm going to go ahead and put the formula in for my subtotal. So if I click on it, click equal, and I know that I've got to take the price of the coffee and I'm going to multiply it times how many I need and I'm going to hit enter. I still don't have anything yet because I haven't figured out how many I need, but I have the formula ready to go. You will need to do the same thing for the latte and the mocha coffees. So you will need formulas in the subtotals to be able to figure that out. Now, once I have those, I can now figure out the total revenue. Right? To get the total revenue, I need a formula, because the total revenue is actually going to be the subtotals added together. And I'm going to hit enter. And that way, that would add up and give me a total revenue. Now, I also, though, have some constraints that require that I know how many cups of regular coffee and premium type cup of coffee that I have. So I'm going to need to enter that into my spreadsheet here. I have regular cups and I only have one kind. So I'm just going to reference, meaning I'm going to say I want whatever this regular cups to equal right here, the cups needed under regular coffee. Now, the premium cups is a little different because I have two of them. So I'm going to have to point to those, but I have to add those together. Now, it tells me this in the tutorial as well. And I hit enter. And the last thing I have to do is sum up or add together these two types of coffee. And one way to do it is use the sum function, or you could just add them. Now, I have that in. I have my constraints, which are given to me in the tutorial. Okay, and I'm now ready to open up Solver and begin putting in my constraints and what my changing cells and objective is. So I'm going to go over under data, go to Solver, and I'm going to start. So the first thing the tutorial tells me is that I need to maximize my total revenue. So my objective is to maximize the total revenue. So I need to click on that. Make sure that max is selected. You have a screen print in your tutorial that shows you that. You also need to put in what cells will change. And again, you have a screen print and instructions in the tutorial that tell you exactly which ones can change. And they're the ones that we have already talked about where the cups needed to sell. So I'm going to put them in with commas in between. And I can check that against the picture that it shows me in the tutorial to make sure that I have clicked on the right cells. Once I have that in there, I'm ready to add the constraints that it tells me that I have in the tutorial. So I'm going to click on add. And the first one it tells me that I have is that my D13, so if I click on D13, it has to be, which is the cups needed to sell for the mocha, have to be less than or equal to, and it's by default on that one, less than or equal to my G13. So if I go up here and see, you'll see this max. You can see mocha premium cups. So I have to find my mocha because it was the mocha that I'm on right now. Oops, let's go back. I didn't click over, so I want to click on the cups needed for mocha, has to be less than or equal to the constraint, which is the maximum amount. So I would end up with my D13 being less than or equal to G13. Now I'm ready to add the next one. My next one will be G7, which is premium cups. And that has to be less than or equal to, I've clicked over to my constraint this time, G12, which is my premium cups of 350. Now I'm ready to add the last one, and that is my G8, which is my total cups, has to be less than or equal to G11, which is my max cups. Now I'm done, so I can go ahead and I can click OK. Now, my solving method down here is GRG nonlinear, which it tells me and shows me a picture of in the tutorial. And that algorithm is the simpler form and is used for non-smooth type problems, which this is. There are opportunities to use more sophisticated one, which is the evolutionary one. And that one is used when you have non-smooth problems as well, but they're a little more complicated because if they have a VLOOKUP, and, an or, an if, then type issue, if count, then you have to solve in a little more sophisticated algorithm because each one of these options are different types of algorithms. And they'll tell you, this is for a non-smooth type problem. If you go down and look, you can look at simplex LP, which is for a linear type. And then you can look at there's an evolutionary type. And it tells you, again, a little synopsis down here. And this one is pretty simple. So we're going to use a non-linear GRG algorithm for that. And if you're not sure, you start with that one. And if you don't get an answer on that one, you can also test the evolutionary algorithm as well to see if that can find an optimal solution for you. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to solve. It did find a solution. Lots of times I will look first before I hit OK, so that way I can cancel and fix something if it doesn't look right. But when I compare my answer now to the picture that I had in the tutorial, I can see that my answer is correct based on the picture. So I can click OK on this one, and that will allow me to save that information. Now, you had to do 2 steps in this particular solver. So what I would do is I would just copy this one because you know that one is correct. And I'm going to paste this copy down here just so I have a copy of it. But now I hit escape. I can go back up now and I can do the second part of this tutorial and change it so that now my value equals 800. And I won't have to go back and change all and add and redo all my formulas, so it doesn't take so long that way. So if I go up here now, I can click. You'll see that it still has all the information that way, and now I can just change the couple things I need to be able to say that I want my total revenue to be a value of a specific amount, which is 800, and then I can solve again. So I will leave you to do that part by yourself. So again, you're going to change it so you have a value of 800, and then you're going to solve. That will put the answers for that part of the solver tutorial in here, and you'll actually have a copy of both that way. Now, once you finish that, you can move over to Scenario Manager. So in Scenario Manager, you will use the what if. So I'm on data, what if, and I click this time on Scenario Manager. And I have the information that was given to me in Scenario on that worksheet. And then I have to add in the scenarios. And it gives me this in the tutorial. I like to put things on the page so I don't have to keep going back and forth, which is what I have here. So I would type original, and then I can see what my changing cells are in the tutorial, which are D9 through D11. I go to D9 through 11. Then I click OK. And then I have, those are actually the original, which is what is in there now. So if I only had the one, I can click OK. But if I want to go on to the next, because I actually have 3 of them I need to have total, and this is only one of them, I can click Add. You notice it'll keep the same changing cells, which is nice. And then I can go on to the next one, which again, I just copied it right off the tutorial, some information that I would need. So I know that my next one is actually the single contractor overtime. So I would just name it that. So single contractor overtime. I already have the changing cells. I click OK. And now I just have to put in the values that it tells me. Okay, so, and it says you need an additional 3,000. Okay, so I'm going to put in that amount. So since I know that I'm going to need an additional $3,000, I leave 1 for D9, which is the number of technicians. I still have D10 the same, which is the regular hours, but I'm going to need an additional 40. And again, this is told to me in the tutorial. So D11 will become 40. I can go ahead and add the next constraint, but I'm going to go ahead and check this one before I do that. So now I know I have the original, which is what I see here. Okay, and then I have the single in there, and to check that, I can click on show, okay, and you'll see that the hours worked changed right there, okay, and the overtime estimate is 3,000 right there. So the result, the total would be $18,000, so that is correct. I'm ready to go to the third one now. I will click on add. And again, I can create that last scenario. And then I would have all 3 so that I now could compare all 3 scenarios. And it gives me what they should be so that you know that you will have it correct. Now, once you have finished, I'm just going to close this and I will let you finish the third one yourself. And then you will have all the tutorial completed and you are ready to do the solver part of the project yourself based on the tutorial and the other information that you have learned about solver. So solver, which is this example, the Pony Espresso, and it will be the foundation to begin working on the solver part of your project.